Konnichiwa minasan, and welcome to the class in the second lecture series on Introduction to Japanese Language and Culture. In our last class, we did giving and receiving, which is ageru and murau, receiving from seniors, which is kureru, or you could say humble form. Now this week we are going to do direct and indirect, how direct speech and indirect speech is done in Japanese. We are also going to do a new verb form. So, well, before this, I want you to listen to the kaiwa, listen to it very carefully and see how much you can understand from there. Later on, I will do the explanation.
ラオさん、論文発表はいつですか？
あさってです。
何時から？
昨日先生は午前中と言いましたが、まだわかりません。
時間ないから先生に聞いてください。
そうそう。後で先生に聞いてみます。皆さん、あさって私の発表に来てください。
10時から11時まで数学のクラスがありますから、クラスの後行きます。発表に他の研究室の学生もいますか？
はい、研究室から6人と隣の研究室から2人が来ると言ってました。
じゃあ頑張らなければなりませんね。
そうね。
So you just heard the kaiwa, and the kaiwa is between Rao and Mira. 2人は今大学にいます。ラオさんはミラさんに会って質問をします。それにミラさんは今答えています。その会話です。だからよく聞いてください皆さん。論文発表はいつですか？いつ。Question word when。あさってです。Day after tomorrow。何時から？ So you will see over here that it's a very direct kind of a conversation, very informal conversation. So it clearly shows that Meera and Rao both are studying together, or they are in the same class, in the same lab, and thus they are informal. They are talking directly in short sentences. So, 昨日先生は午前中と言いましたが、まだわかりません。昨日 yesterday 先生は午前中 in the morning, forenoon と言いましたが he said in the morning. でもが is でも over here, but まだわかりません。I still do not know what time. じゃあ時間ないから先生に聞いてください。or 聞いた方がいい。時間ないから there is hardly any time. So, thus, therefore, 先生に聞いてください。そうそう。後で先生に聞いてみます。I will ask 先生 later. 後で。Later on, I will ask 先生聞いてみます。I'll ask and see. See what time the 発表 is. 皆さん、あさって私の発表に来てください。So, あさって私の発表に for my 発表来てください。So, he is inviting. He's saying, please come. He's just inviting her, saying, why don't you come? Another way of inviting is 来てくれませんか? So, very politely asking Mira-san to come for the 発表。10時から11時まで数学のクラスがあるからクラスの後行きます。So, from 10 till 11, I have a class of mathematics. あるから。Thus, クラスの後行きます。発表に他の研究室の学生もいますか？ During 発表、他の is other。研究室 no gakusei. Mo imasu ka? They are also going to be there. Hai, watashi no kenkyushitsu kara 6 nin to, and tonari no kenkyushitsu kara, kenkyushitsu, that is lab, the lab next to mine, tonari no kenkyushitsu kara, from the next lab, futari ga kuru to itte imashita. They were saying that they are going to come. Ja, ganbaranakereba narimasen. Well, then if others are coming, you really have to be working very hard, is what it means. This is what we are going to do today, and of course, to itte imashita. This is in your script, and you can see, I am sure, recognize a few kanjis: kino, nanji, gozenchu, ato, kiite kudasai, kuru, 11 ji. So, some kanjis I will do with you right here. Nan, ji, nanji, kino, kino, gozenchu, go, zen and chu, gozenchu. Then ato, ato, later. Sensei, of course, you know, kiku, kiku over here. Well, right here I will make like this, nichi, and then what is this? This is mimi. Then kuru is given over here, kuru. So, I think lot of kanjis for you today. Practice these at home. Now, in your kaiwa, you had this question word itsu. Now, itsu you have done earlier as well. Today, I am going to tell you the difference between itsu and nan. So, how to use itsu with tanjobi? Tanjobi wa itsu desu ka? So, tanjobi, itsu is when, and it shows, or here we are asking about date, or maybe day as well sometimes. But then if you are doing sein and gappi, which is your date of birth, then we will not use itsu, this will not be used. What are we going to use? We are going to use nan. So, seinen gappi wa nan desu ka? Nan is what? You will not say seinen gappi wa itsu desu ka, as I just told you. This is incorrect. So, this comes in exams, and generally these options are given. You need to know what to click and how to use itsu. Now, in our kaiwa we have to imasu. Now, particle to, which is used here with imasu, is different from the to done earlier. The to which we have studied earlier means and, as you already know, and it joins nouns. It is an exhaustive listing of things present in front of you, and by this I mean that you have to name each and every noun present over there. Now, the to that we are going to do with imasu is a quotation marker, and imasu means to say or to speak. By this, what do I mean? I mean that whatever is to be quoted or paraphrased is followed by particle to with the verb imasu. Now, you have also done another verb imasu and imasu, which we are going to do today. They sound very similar. So, let us see what is the difference. So, the imasu that we have done shows existence of a certain person, whereas the imasu that we are going to do over here says to say or to speak. So, in Japanese it is imasu, existence, presence of some person, or we could say animate. Now, over here it is imasu. Do not confuse imasu and imasu. You can see it in the script as well now. Now, this imasu is used in direct and indirect quotation, which we will do now. Now, where do we use all of this? The imasu that we have to do, as I just said, in direct and indirect quotation. So, direct quotation often appears in storytelling or essays, where something is quoted or is said as is. It can also be used in conversations, where it could be used as an indirect quotation, and you will see how it is done. Now, besides imasu, there are other verbs also which can be used in a similar manner, and now the verbs are, well, kiku can be used, yobu can be used, to call. Kiku is to listen, hear. Then you can also use omoimasu or omou, which we will do later. Then staeru means to convey and omou means to think. So, of this we will do omoimasu later. You can keep in mind that these are also used in a similar manner, and there are some other verbs as well, but we do not have to cover them here in this lesson. Now, as you can see, it is given over here, kiku and omou. There are others also. Now, look at the example. Rao-san wa ginko e ikimasu to imashita. Now, Rao-san said, direct, because it is in quotation, because whatever he said is being quoted over here, thus to imashita, he said. Who said? Rao-san. Rao-san wa, comma. So, you can put a comma over here and maybe it will be easy for you to understand. Rao-san wa. Initially what happens is this construction seems very difficult to understand, but as you get used to it, where to put the subject, where to put the quotation and where to put imashita, it becomes very, very easy. So, Rao-san wa, what did he say? Ginko e ikimasu. I will go to the ginko, and he said. You will see more examples and it will become easy. So, Rao-san wa ohayo gozaimasu to imashita. So, ohayo gozaimasu is what he said. Of course, ohayo gozaimasu has a rising intonation, but here because it is being quoted by somebody, so we could also use a flat intonation here. Rao-san wa ohayo gozaimasu to imashita, or Rao-san wa ohayo gozaimasu to tsutaemashita. He said that please convey my good morning to whatever person Rao-san wanted to convey it to. Somebody else is saying. For example, I am saying that Rao-san wa ohayo gozaimasu to iimashita, or Rao-san wa ohayo gozaimasu to tsutaemashita. He has conveyed his good morning to you or his best wishes to you. Now, Nihonjin wa hito to wakareru toki sayonara to imasu. So, Nihonjin wa, Japanese people, when they part from someone, then what do they say? Sayonara to imasu. Now, there is no imashita over here. Imashita will become a specific time. So, imasu is, that is what they generally do. They say sayonara when they part. So, that is how the sentence is going to be translated from this side to this side. There is more for you. Now, the important part here is that to iimasu or to iimashita will always have plain form. How? Iku is plain form for ikimasu, ikanai negative plain is there, the adjective will be as is, you do not have to change anything in the adjective, and then genki desu changes to the plain form. So, Tanaka-san wa ashita picnic e iku to iimashita. Tanaka-san wa ashita picnic e ikanai to iimashita. Tanaka-san wa okaasan no ryori wa oishii to iimashita. Okaasan wa genki da to iimashita. Kodomo wa genki da to iimashita. So, this is how you will use it in plain form before iimasu. Please remember, this is the most important thing here in iimasu. Construction you have seen. I will give you more practice now. So, you can see Rao wa ginko e ikimasu to imashita. Rao said, I will go to the ginko, or Rao-san said that I will go to the ginko. To iimashita, he said. Then Rao wa ginko e iku ikanai to itte imashita. Now, what does this mean? Over here you have iimashita, then you did iimasu just now in your previous slide, and now you have itte imashita. So, this is a general statement. When you say to iimasu, generally that is what is done. Nobody is saying anything, this is a general statement. Then when you say to iimashita, somebody has said something and you are just quoting it, putting it in inverted commas and saying exactly what he said, repeating what he said. Now, over here when you say Rao-san wa ginko e ikanai to itte imashita, so this is how you have understood. This is what you could gather from what he was saying, that he was saying that he will not go to the ginko. This is from your side, this is how you have understood it, this is how you are presenting it. It is not in quotes anymore. This is how you understood, and you are saying that Rao-san wa ginko e ikanai to itte imashita. You will see some more examples here. Kogi wa 5時に終わると言っていました. Somebody, it could be Rao-san, it could be Tanaka-san, it could be sensei, it could be anybody, was saying that Kogi wa 5時に終わる. It will finish at 5 o'clock. So, Kogi is your lecture. He was saying that Kogi will finish at 5 時. If it was indirect, then sensei wa kogi wa 5時に終わる inverted commas closed to iimashita. Now, Rao wa atsui to itte imashita. He was saying that it is very hot. What did Rao say? He must have said, oh, it's very hot today, what do I do? And this is what I understand from there, and I say Rao wa atsui to itte imashita. He was saying that it is very hot. To iimasu. I am doing it again. To iimashita and to itte imashita. Over here it is in quotes. Here whatever I have understood, and over here it is a general statement. Now, there is more practice for you. Rao-san wa gohan wa oishii to iimashita. He said that the gohan is tasty. Gohan is tasty, he said. Then, Rao-san wa kanji wa muzukashii to imashita. And if you want to put it in indirect, then Rao-san wa kanji wa muzukashii to itte imashita. He was saying that kanji is very, very difficult. Now, Rao wa ohayo gozaimasu to imashita. Rao said ohayo gozaimasu. Direct. Whatever he said is being quoted. Rao-san wa gakusei da to itte imashita. He was saying that he is a student. So, this is simple direct and indirect. You can use whichever, mostly this one is used. It is more easy and convenient. Rao-san wa picnic ni ikanai to iimasu. So, he is saying that he will not go for the picnic. The action is not complete. It still has to happen. It is for the future. So, to iimasu. Now, you can also use Rao-san wa ikitakunai to iimasu or Rao-san wa ikitakunai to itte imashita. I have given both over here. You can see and you can understand now. Now, there is a small conversation over here. There is this sensei, Oisha-san, and this child is over here. His mother has taken him to the doctor, and let us see what the conversation is. This conversation is between Haha and Mira. So, my mother comes home and she looks at me, she finds me worried, and she asks me, "Do shimashita ka?" What has happened? "Do shimashita ka? Kodomo wa chotto guai ga warui desu." Meaning, she or he is not feeling very well. Guai is general condition. Ga warui desu. Why ga over here? Because he is not well and she can see it. Warui is actually bad, but here not well. Condition is not well. Netsu mo arimasu ka? Hai. Kusuri wa mada desu. Not yet. Kusuri is medicine. Ja, byoin ni ikimashou. So, she says immediately let us go to the byoin. So, shinryo no ato, that is you go inside, visit the doctor, he checks you up, and then after examination, when you come out, after consultation, when you come out, then what Haha says? Sensei wa nan to iimashita ka? What did he say? Kaze desu to iimashita. Kusuri mo moraimashita. I have received some medicine from him. So, this is a very simple normal daily conversation which you can have in this situation. Now, in our conversation there was this particle gurai. It is used to show approximate quantity or amount or size of a certain thing, and gurai can also be written as kurai. Both mean exactly the same, there is no difference. So, well, to show amount or quantity or number, for example, heya ni 100人ぐらい学生がいます。So, in the room there are 100 students present, approximately 100 students present. This shows number, or you could also say for number of apples present in a box. So, the important thing here is that quantity or number should come before kurai or gurai, as I just did over here, 100人 plus kurai gurai. So, 100人, 100 is the number, plus kurai or gurai, or 2000 n kurai or gurai kakarimasu. It will be about 2000 yen. So, number has to come first before this. Now, you can see from examples how quantity or amount or number is shown. So, 200人ぐらいパーティーに来ました。200 people came to the party. So, exactly 200 people, then 200 people came, but approximately 200 people came, then 200人ぐらいパーティーに来ました。箱にリンゴはどれぐらいありますか？ Approximately how much? どれぐらい。So, question word plus ぐらい。Approximate. 箱 is box. 箱にリンゴはどれぐらいありますか？ How many ringo are there in the box? Now, 箱にリンゴは何キロぐらい？ You will not say どれキロぐらい。何キロぐらい。Please remember どれ will be incorrect over here. Nan is going to be used. So, 箱にリンゴは何キロ？ Kilo is kilo. ぐらいありますか？ Approximately how many kgs of apples are there in the box? あります as we already have done in our revision part in the first week. It is existence or presence of inanimate objects. Now, ここから駅まで来るまで10分ぐらいです。What does this mean now? This is a sentence, statement, answer to something. So, what is the question? Please tell me the question. Yes, ここから駅まで何分ぐらいかかりますか？ This is the question. 来るまで can be added. 来るまで by kurma from A place to B place. How long is it going to take? How many minutes is it going to take? Kakarimasu is take. What is the time taken? Now, showing frequency. 毎日何回ぐらい鏡を見ますか？鏡 is mirror. So, 毎日何回ぐらい approximately how many times do you look at the mirror? Which I am sure all of you do. So, you can understand this very well. You cannot count it. It could be so many number of times. So, approximately. 毎週何回ぐらいレストランで食事をしますか？食事 is meals, eating at the restaurant. So, approximately 何回 how many times you eat food at the restaurant. So, this shows frequency. Now, this is a different usage of gurai, a little different from this construction. Sono tokei wa ikura gurai desu ka? Ikura is how much. So, approximately how much is the tokei for? So, another question word is used over here and you can answer. 2000 yen gurai desu or 3000 yen gurai desu, whatever answer you want to give. Now, we just did this verb kakaru, and over here you can see very clearly a verb meaning time taken from place A to place B or money required to travel from point A to point B. Now, there is practice also for you. Deri kara Kanpur made kuru made. We just did this example earlier in our previous slide. Dono gurai kakarimasu ka or dono kurai kakarimasu ka? Kurai. So, here it is kurai and over here it is gurai. So, we can also write gurai over here. Both can be used and the plain form of the verb is kakaru. Kakaru. Group 1. Now, deri kara Kanpur made hikoki de, and we have also done particle de in detail. So, I am sure you will understand. Nanjikan gurai kakarimasu ka? So, I am sure this is clear now. Kono shigoto wa 3 jikan gurai kakarimasu. So, there is some specific project, some specific work that you have to do, and you are saying kono shigoto wa 3 jikan gurai kakarimasu. It is going to take 3 hours to complete this work. Sumimasen, eki made dono gurai kakarimasu ka? So, over here it could be time, it could be money, both depending on the situation. Dono gurai kakarimasu ka? How many minutes or how many hours, and how much money from place A to place B, as we saw here. So, I am sure kakarimasu is clear and we do not need any more examples. There is one more over here. Sumimasen, tsugi no eki made dono gurai kakarimasu ka? So, this clearly talks about money at the ticket window. Tsugi, tsugi is next. Now, this is a little different. Look at the construction. Kono densha wa benri kedo. It is benri, but jikan ga kakarimasu. It is a good densha, it is convenient, but it takes a lot of time. Also, you will see this one. Laptop wa benri kedo. It is very benri, you can take it anywhere you want, but it is an expensive thing. Okane ga kakarimasu. That you have to pay a lot of money to buy a laptop. I am sure you will understand from this and how to use kakarimasu and kedo. It is benri, it is very good, but costs money. So, takes time and takes money. So, I am sure kakarimasu is clear now and you can use it freely in your conversation. Now, in our kaiwa, we also had a phrase nakereba narimasen. Now, what is that and what does it mean? So, let us see. Nakereba narimasen basically means have to do or must do whatever the verb is saying. Whatever the verb may be, group 1, group 2, you have to do as is being suggested or as is being said. It is an obligation, you have to do it. It is in negative, nakereba narimasen. Now, let us see how it is made and what is the pattern of making nakereba narimasen in all the 3 verb groups. So, now this is the construction. You can make it from mas form, you can make it from negative, you can also make it from plain form. Now, how is it for group 1? So, let us see. We take the negative for group 1. So, we have yoma nai, noma nai, kaka nai, kika nai. Okay. Negative for all these. In group 1, hanasa nai or hanashimasen. You can do the masen as well over here. Hanashimasen, kakimasen, kikimasen, nomimasen and yomimasen. So, now how will you change it over here? Remove the nai from here, as you can see from here as well. Remove the nai and put nakereba narimasen. So, this is for group 1 from nai. If you want to do it for group 1 from the plain form, then yomu, nomu, kaku, kiku, hanasu. Okay. Remove the u from here and put anakereba narimasen. Anakereba narimasen. It is in negative, but the meaning is positive, meaning you have to do it, you must do it. Over here, yoma nakereba, noma nakereba, kaka nakereba, kika nakereba and hanasa nakereba narimasen. So, you can make it whichever way you want, from the negative or from the dictionary form for group 1 and group 2. Now, I will do group 2 with you. Taberu, neru, varau, shimeru. Just remove the ru from here. This is group 1. Ru from here and see nakereba narimasen. It's given in the previous slide. You can check it out. The first verb is taberu. So, similar pattern for neru also, ne nakereba narimasen and shime nakereba narimasen. And for group 3, suru shi nakereba narimasen. Please remember, for suru it is shi nakereba narimasen. So, all that you need to remember over here, which is important, is for group 1. If you are making it, then it is nakereba narimasen from dictionary form as is given over here. And for group 2, very simple, nakereba narimasen, just remove the ru. Now you have some sentences you can practice here. So, watashi wa mainichi 6 ji ni kusuri o nomanakereba narimasen. I have to take medicine at 6 every day. Then, genki ni naritai kara, I want to become all right very quickly. So, kusuri o nomanakereba narimasen. I have to do it, have to, positive, must do it. Tanaka-san, hayaku genki ni naritai nara kusuri o nomanakereba narimasen. So, if you really want to become well again very quickly, then please have your medicine. It is a suggestion. So, kodomo wa horenso ga kirai, do not like horenso, but tabe nakereba narimasen. Then, mainichi undo o shinakereba narimasen. So, you have to do exercise every day. Mainichi undo o shinakereba, to keep in good health, shinakereba narimasen. Sensei no koto o chanto kikanakereba narimasen. So, this you should all remember very much, and I am sure you will understand it now. Sensei no koto o chanto kikanakereba narimasen. So, please listen to what your teacher is saying. Chanto is properly. Pay attention to what your teacher is saying. Kika nakereba narimasen. The verb is kiku. Kiku. Suru and taberu. There is more practice. Shigoto o shitaku nai kedo, I do not want to work, but shinakereba narimasen, I have to work. Then, ashita shiken ga aru node, ima benkyou shinakereba narimasen. So, I have put it in plain form also. It is the same, only level of politeness is different. Nakereba narimasen sounds more polite than nara nai. Node is similar to kara, we have done it earlier, and before node, verb will always be in plain form. I have done all of this with you earlier, so I am not repeating it again. Now, this is almost similar to this one. Ashita shiken ga aru node ima benkyou shita hou ga ii desu. So, it is a suggestion. This is also a suggestion, an obligation on you that if somebody is suggesting, you better do it. It is for your own good. Now, we are going to do some kanjis. You can see these are simple kanjis. You know the words. We will quickly do the kanjis and you will memorize them like this faster. So, kuruma 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. This is how kurma is made. Once again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Kuruma. Kuruma. Another reading for kurma is sha. So, you will see just now then sha. So, then is electricity and sha, then sha. Something that moves with the help of electricity, and sha actually the meaning is wheel. Okay. So, all these move on wheels. I am doing it very quickly because we have done it earlier as well. So, I am just repeating these kanjis for you. You know the words, so you can also remember the kanji now. Now, you have hito over here. Hito kanji is very simple, 1 and 2. So, what are the new words with hito? You have done hitori, one person as is standing over here. Then you have gaijin, another reading is jin. So, gai and jin, gaijin, gai koku, jin. The koku is missing over here. So, simple gai jin, a foreigner. Then we have jinko, jin and ko. So many people and so many mouths to feed. So, then this becomes population, jinko, jin and ko. Then there is another word, ningen, nin, san nin, nin. So, same nin over here, and this is gen, ningen. This is a special reading, ningen. Then jinsei, jinsei is life itself. This is hito and this meaning is to live. So, jinsei, your life. So many new words with this character. Try to use them in your conversation and in sentences. You have some more. So, today we have body parts, mimi, which is very simple, looks complicated, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, mimi. Then we have kuchi, like this 3-stroke character, kuchi. Now, what are the new words with kuchi? Hitokuchi, one and kuchi, one mouth full. We just did jinko also over here, jinko, which is population, and another word that you have done with kuchi is iriguchi, though the character for iri is different from hito. It is like this, 1 and 2, whereas hito is 1 full over here and then 2. This is hito and this is iri. So, iriguchi over here. Then we have me, like nichi, So, you put 2 lines over here and it becomes me and me ue. What is me ue? This is ue, which means up, and me ue, somebody who is senior to you in rank and in age, is me ue no kata, me ue no hito kata. Then we have ashi. Ashi is like this, like this. This kanji is almost hito, you can see. So, ashi, nisoku. Soku is the counter for socks, soku. So, nisoku is 2 pair of socks. Then you have te, it is like this, 1, 2, 3 and 4, te, and you have done this word tebukuro. Bukuro was a little difficult, so I did not put it over here, but tebukuro is gloves, something that you cover your hands with. Bukuro is fukuro, fukuro is a bag. Now, te ashi, so limbs actually, te and ashi means limbs. So, these are some kanji characters for you, some new words for you. You can learn these. These are simple characters. You can join these and make some new words. Some I have written, some you can look up the dictionary and make using these kanjis which I have given today. So, now with this I would like to end today's class. There are a lot of things we have done. Some things you had done earlier, some we did just now, like nakereba narimasen. It is a very good verb form which you can learn and use in your conversation. Of course, we are going to do nakereba narimasen again later in a different manner. But for the time being, do it the way I have told you. Do the kanjis that we have done in class today and try to make new characters. From there, practice iimasu and itte imashita and iimashita with particle to as direct and indirect speech. It is very handy and useful. So, with this I will end today's class and we will meet again soon in our next class. Till then, arigatou gozaimashita. Mata aimashou.